Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network novel. Fengshen. Me, Di Xin, let the great merchant and the whole people de Luo Grand Tutor Wen Zhong is about to embark on an expedition to the North Sea, so he invited a great king who had succeeded to the throne for a year but had never been to court before to preside over the court. In order to prevent His Majesty from ignoring the court, Wen Zhong also collected all the novels from the imperial study, Jizi. Grand Tutor, why don't these books relieve me on the way? So Jizi read the novel written by Emperor Xin and began to tell the soldiers stories soldiers have come to understand from novels such as the 18 Dragons Subduing Palms and the Vajra Immortal Divine Arts Wen Zhong. Look at my starry morning transformation technique. I want to create a universe inside my body bygone. Light, darkness, life, death, fate, destruction, rules of gravity, follow my 7 orifices and exquisite heart, turn Jizi. I want to enter the Tao with martial arts and prove the Tao with strength Daji. Look at my swallowing heavenly demon technique. Jiang Chuan. Who in the world should wear white clothes? Only I am fascinated by Jiang Taishu Neza. In the sky and in the world, I am the only one who stands alone on this day. Lady Jinling came to Chaoga to visit her disciple Wen Zhong, but I found out that the entire Chaoga, with the great Luo walking all over the ground, was not as holy as asterisk, so that only saints could tremble. Our Lady Jinling is starting to doubt life. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1 Your Majesty, I respectfully request that you take the initiative to collect the flowers. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the grand hall of the palace, 100 officials gather, singing in the morning. Pay respects to the Grand Tutor. You are all exempt from paying respects. Under the throne, there are 2 seats on each side. The left seat is occupied by Grand Tutor Wen Zhong, while the right seat is empty. Surprisingly, the middle throne is also empty. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have something to attend to, please report it. If you have nothing to attend to, please leave the court. Wen Zhong looked at the civil and military officials below and said. Upon hearing this, Prime Minister Shang Rong was appointed. Report to the Grand Tutor at the Beihai Canine Tribe has once again rebelled. The local garrison has already sent a smoke for help, and has even sent an 800-mile urgent delivery, saying that it won't last long. Shang Rong said with a worried expression on his face. It's not their fault either. The Canine tribe is the old tribe of Qiyu, each brave and skilled in battle. It's already difficult to withstand it alone with the local garrison. How long will King Wuqing return to court? Wen Zhong asked. At least it will take another month. Although Southern Marquis Yi Chongyu assisted King Wuqing in suppressing the rebellion, the march was not a one-time event. Shang Rong sighed and breathed a sigh. Now that the Shang is at war on all sides, Chaoga surprisingly has no available generals. It seems that I have to go to Beihai. How is Uncle Wang's condition? Can he take charge of the court? Wen Zhong glanced at the empty seat on his right, which belonged to Uncle Wang. Wang Shu is a respectful title given by civil and military officials to Bai Gan. In fact, at the age of 20, Bai Gan had already been appointed as a high-position Grand Tutor to assist Emperor Yi. After Emperor Yi's death, Bai Gan and Grand Tutor Wen Zhong became important ministers entrusted to him, assisting Emperor Xin, who had just ascended the throne for less than a year, in handling court affairs. Grand Tutor, Uncle Wang is actually not sick. He knew about the news of the Beihai rebellion and knew that you would personally send troops, so he pretended to be sick at home, so that the king could personally manage the court. The king has been in power for a year, but he never goes to court. This is not a solution. Shang Rong said with a puzzled expression. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong sighed, and he couldn't help but understand this truth. I and Bai Gan have repeatedly tried to persuade His Majesty to take power, but he refused on the grounds that he was still young. This time, I can't help but let his temper go wild. I'll go and call your majesty over again. Wen Zhong also felt that this was not a solution, and decided to bring his majesty over to govern even if it meant lifting him up. The Grand Tutor is wise. Upon hearing these words, Shang, Rong and the officials were immediately overjoyed. Wen Zhong immediately ordered the officials to withdraw from the court, and then went alone to the king's study. Speaking of this great king, Wen Zhong really doesn't know how to evaluate him. It's not right to say that he was ignorant and inexperienced after ascending the throne. Since His Majesty ascended the throne, he seems to have spent most of his time in the study, writing and painting, and he doesn't know what he's doing. But if we say he is a wise ruler, it cannot be considered, at least from now on, it still falls far short. It is possible to appoint people based on their own merits, and to delegate all power to oneself and Bygone. Over the past year, Bygone and oneself have worked together, expanding the territory of the big business almost twice. It can be said that it is Ming Jun. How could he succeed to the throne without going to court for a year and ignoring the government's affairs? However, His own Majesty can also be considered a genius. A year ago, he invented paper, and since then, he has bid farewell to the habit of writing on turtle shells. Nowadays, paper from big merchants has become a hard currency, and every 6 months, people from all other feudal states spend a large amount of resources to purchase. Nowadays, the large commercial treasury is abundant, which is also the confidence of Wen Zhong and Bygone to dare to go to war on all sides. Your Majesty, I have heard that Zhong has something to attend to. Wen Zhonglai went outside the imperial study and bowed. Emperor Xin in the imperial study felt a surge of dizziness when he heard Zhong's voice outside the door. Dixin is not the original Dixin, but a traveler. Dixin crossed over a year ago when he first ascended the throne. Discovering that he had traveled to a world of chaos and even become the emperor of great merchants, Emperor Xin suddenly panicked. Xin was well aware of the fate of the great merchants, but he was the loser in the battle of the gods, and his fate was even more tragic. So at that time, Xin was very panicked and didn't know how to do it. Fortunately, there is a system accompanying us. Divine Level Correction System. According to the system prompt, Dixin finally understood its purpose. As long as you write a novel that you are familiar with in your previous life, the correction system will automatically correct it, and the techniques inside will be corrected to a reasonable state. As the author, Xin, every time he writes a novel, he will understand the corresponding martial arts and strength from it. However, the novels written are related to Emperor Xin's own strength. At the beginning, Xin could only write low martial arts novels such as The 9 Heavenly Dragons and The Legend of Jiao Heroes. With the improvement of his strength, he can now write low-level immortal and chivalrous novels such as The Immortal Sword, The Legend of Shu Mountain, and The Water Moon Cave. Even the first part of many cultivation novels, such as Starry Morning Changes and Ethereal Journeys, can already be written. However, after writing about the human part, it can no longer be written anymore. Obviously, it is because Emperor Xin's realm is not enough. At this point, Emperor Xin's strength has also reached the Mahayana realm, and he is about to break through to the level of the Earth Immortal. Come in, Grand Tutor. Dixin stopped writing novels with his pen. In order to write novels better, Dixin also worked hard to invent paper and had it made by royal craftsmen. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong pushed the door open and entered. Your Majesty, Bygone is sick and I will soon go to Beihai to suppress the rebellion of the Canine Tribe. During my absence, I kindly request Your Majesty to take charge of the court affairs. Wen Zhong respectfully saluted. Got it. Xin waved his hand with some annoyance and said. I was about to break through the realm of the underworld, but at a critical moment, I unexpectedly made myself go to court. Once in court, there is no time to write novels. Looking at Xin's reluctant expression, Wen Zhong looked at the room full of books again. Previously, Wen Zhong had read the titles of these books and knew that they were all idle and easily addictive. I think your Majesty is not thinking about politics because he is addicted to these books. As soon as he thought of this, Wen Zhong suddenly had an idea. Your Majesty, the journey to Beihai is long and boring. Your Majesty's books look interesting, so why not lend them to me so that I can relieve my fatigue on the way? Wen Zhong was well aware that as a vassal, he couldn't force himself and could only use this method. Take it, take it. Xin waved his hand impatiently and said. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong was no longer polite and asked people to take away all the books in the imperial study. Chapter 2. Wen Zhong's expedition and Shang Rong's understanding of the God of War map. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The novel written by Emperor Xin in the imperial study was packed in a large box. After Wen Zhong had someone pack it up, he left the palace alone carrying the box. Wen Zhonggang walked to the entrance of the palace and met Ji who was coming towards him. Ji is the uncle of Emperor Xin. In the true sense, Wang Shu is not like Baigan, who has the title of Wang Shu but is actually just a vassal. Taisher, what is the box you are carrying? Ji said with a curious expression on her face. I was worried that your Majesty would lose his ambition by playing with things, so I took out all the books from the imperial study. They are all here. Regarding Ji, Wen Zhong naturally knew everything. The two of them were both civil and military comrades who fought side by side. Even during this expedition to the North Sea, Ji played the role of a military commander and joined the army. So there isn't as much etiquette between the two of them. Give it to me, I just happen to relieve my stress along the way. It's not easy for you to handle it, after all, it's a book from the imperial study. If there's any loss, you can't explain it clearly. Ji immediately recognized Wen Zhong's difficulties and talked about his inner struggles. With so many idle books, Wen Zhong neither dares to destroy them nor wants to bring them home. If his children and grandchildren discover them, causing them to become addicted to these things and lose interest in them, it would not be worth the loss. Chen Wang, you really reigned in time. I don't know how to handle it. It's just right to leave it at your place. For the self-control of Ji, Wen Zhong and he have been fighting side by side for many years, and naturally they can be trusted. Then put it on my carriage. It's a long way to Beihai, and the journey is tiring. With these things, it's easy to pass the time. In the future, I will also have more materials to tell soldiers' stories. Ji is not only a military strategist, but also plays the role of a storyteller in the military camp. In his spare time, he always gets along with the soldiers and tells them stories. Wen Zhong is very clear about this, so he is more confident in handing over these books to Ji. Wen Zhongtai understands the hardships that soldiers face during marching and fighting, and having such a relaxing way is also considered good. The next morning, Wen Zhong's army marched towards the North Sea, and Emperor Xin had to come out to preside over the court. The civil and military officials were delighted to see that the king, whom they had never seen since ascending the throne last year, had actually taken power. In order to strengthen His Majesty's confidence and determination in governing, Shang Rong decided to seek advice from this young His Majesty on the policy of governing the country. He also decided that no matter what His Majesty said, he would only pass a rainbow fart and surely enjoy the beauty of the dragon. Shang Rong was not originally this kind of person, he had to do so just for the sake of the great business community. Your Majesty, I am a bit confused about the strategy of governing the country and the techniques of governing the people today. I wonder if Your Majesty has any insights on these. Please give me some guidance. Shang Rong said with a humble expression on his face. Upon hearing these words, Xin looked strange. As the saying goes, he has never eaten pork and has never seen pigs run. In his past life, the internet was so developed, and he had never seen any theory. So Emperor Xin pretended to be profound and said, the people are important, the ruler is light, and the state is secondary. The people are water, and the state is a boat. The ruler is the person who rides on the boat, and the water can carry the boat and also capsize it. Water can carry boats, but it can also capsize them. Upon hearing these words, Rong was completely stunned. This was the first time he had heard of this theory, as if a lightning bolt had struck his mind. Other civil and military officials were also stunned by this statement. They repeatedly savored the king's words, and the more they tasted them, the more they felt that this was the wisdom of governing the country. Your Majesty is wise. Civil and military officials salute together. Your Majesty, I still don't fully understand these few words. Rong looked humble and eager to learn, bowing and saying. Okay, I'll show you a book later, and once you read it, you'll understand. Emperor Xin, who only came here to waste time arguing with them about these issues, simply gave Rong a copy of the Tang Dynasty twin dragons he had written himself and let him go and read it himself. The books in the imperial study were all taken by Wen Zhong, but Emperor Xin hardly slept for a year, so the palace was filled with his own novels, including the Tang Dynasty's twin dragons. After Emperor Xin finished speaking, he instructed the temple members to go to the dormitory to collect books. Prime Minister, this book contains the ways of governing a country. Take it back and read it carefully, learn it well. Emperor Xin asked the temple staff to hand over the Tang Dynasty double dragons to Rong. Rong respectfully accepted it. Alright, let's retreat. Xin doesn't want to stay here for a while longer. With this time, he can write more novels and improve his strength. The great apocalypse of the gods may not last for many years. If he doesn't hurry up, he may not even have any left. On the other side, when Zhong's army marched towards the North Sea, and only GZ was sitting in a carriage. There is no objection from anyone in the entire army regarding this point. Firstly, GZ was a nobleman of the royal family and a literati, with a relatively weak physique compared to others. Secondly, as a military strategist, GZ had a great relationship with the soldiers, and no one would criticize him for such a flaw. When the journey was boring, GZ opened the box that Wen Zhong had given him, which was full of novels written by Emperor Xin. GZ casually picked up a book. The 9 Heavenly Dragons. The name looks pretty good. GZ opened the book as she spoke, and upon reading it, she immediately became fascinated. On the way back, Rong's mind was filled with Emperor Xin's words, water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. After returning to the mansion, Rong eagerly opened the book in his hand. The Key to Longevity. What is its relationship with governing the country? Rong said with a puzzled expression on his face. However, he persisted in reading until he saw the part of the war god Atlas. Rongduan felt his whole body heating up and his breath constantly rising. This state lasted for over an hour until Rong exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. At this moment, Rong felt incredibly powerful. He felt that even if he faced the Wuqing king Huang Feihu now, he had the power to fight. This is an immortal book. Rong looked excitedly at the Tang Xuanlong in his hand. In the palace, Xin, who was buried in writing a novel, suddenly received a system prompt. Rong comprehended the war god illustrated from the Tang Dynasty's twin dragons, and his realm was elevated to the stage of transforming into a god. The host received a tenfold increase, and the war god illustrated was strengthened to the heavenly illustrated. Later, Xin felt that his strength rapidly increased, and his strength, which had originally remained in the Mahayana period, directly broke through to the realm of the earth immortal. Commercial appearance. God of War Atlas. Upon hearing this prompt from the system, Xin was immediately confused. After a long time, Emperor Xin finally realized that others could comprehend the martial arts from these novels, and after comprehending them, he would gain a tenfold increase. If I had known this, why would I still be so engrossed in writing a book and promote it to the public early in the morning? Isn't it fragrant? As for why Rong only cultivated the war god Atlas, his cultivation level skyrocketed to the stage of transforming into a god, which is not difficult to understand. Emperor Xin was well aware that the physical condition of the human race in this era was far beyond comparison to later generations. Many ordinary people, relying on their innate divine power, can even fight against cultivators. The most typical example among them is Deng Chanyu, a woman who, relying on her mortal body, has left many disciples of the third generation of teachings at a loss. Shang Rong is still just a weak scholar, and his martial arts talent is probably very poor. If it were anyone else who comprehends the war God illustrated, he could even become an immortal on the spot. At the thought of this, Dixindon felt a burning sensation in his heart. Chapter 3. GZ Shuo 18 Dragon Subduing Palms, Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, it was getting dark, and Wen Zhong ordered the army to fix up in place. The army immediately set up camp and made rice by burying pots. GZ glanced at the time and felt that it was still early. He decided to go out and chat with the soldiers, just in time to tell them the content of the 9 heavenly dragons we watched today. Military officer, this piece of meat is grilled just right. Give it a try. A military officer saw a dustpan and quickly handed over the meat he was roasting in his hand. Although the military uniformly buries pots for cooking, these officers are all born with divine powers and agile skills. It is not a problem to catch a wild beast to add food, which is very common in the military. GZ took it over and took 2 bites. Roasted well, but unfortunately there are too few salt bricks. Otherwise, applying some salt bricks would make the taste even more beautiful. After a whole day of ups and downs, GZ was already hungry. He ate all the thigh meat weighing more than 10 pounds on his handle 3 times, 2 times, and 5 times. In this era, due to strong qi and blood, the appetite of the human race is generally larger. Even if GZ is just a scholar, he can still eat so much. Military advisor, do you have any good stories today? Every time we march, if we keep talking at night, we feel like we're all feeling down. Another officer, while eating, said. There really is a good book. I just read it today and I don't think I need to change a single word. Let's just tell you all. Speaking of books, GZ suddenly became interested. A group of officers and soldiers who were eating around the campfire also came to their senses. You should know that this is their only entertainment activity during the march. So GZ sat down and began to talk about the 9 sections of the Heavenly Dragon. The book was extremely exciting, and GZ felt that he didn't need to change a single word. He just spoke it out based on the original text. Everyone was intoxicated as they listened. When GZ talked about the 18 dragon subduing palms, an officer first felt something was wrong. He felt a surge of heat rising in his body, and then his overall strength began to rapidly improve. At the same time, he completely understood the 18 dragon subduing palms in his heart. Gradually, other officers and soldiers also understood the 18 dragon subduing palms and their strength rapidly improved. Emperor Xin, who was singing in the morning, suddenly felt his strength soar. Zhang San understood the 18 dragon subduing palms through GZ's lecture on the 9 heavenly dragons. His realm was elevated to the Mahayana period, and his host gained a tenfold increase. The 18 dragon subduing palms were strengthened to become the supreme dragon subduing palms. Li Si understood the 18 dragon subduing palms through GZ's lecture on the 9 heavenly dragons. His realm was elevated to the combined stage, and his host gained a tenfold increase. The 18 dragon subduing palms were strengthened to become the supreme dragon subduing palms. Wang Wu understood the 18 dragon subduing palms through the 9 heavenly dragons taught by GZ, and his realm was elevated to the immortal realm. The host received a tenfold increase, and the 18 dragon subduing palms were strengthened to the supreme dragon subduing palms. Li Guden understood the 6 meridian divine sword through GZ's lecture on the 9 heavenly dragons, and his realm was elevated to the stage of transforming into a divine being. His host gained a tenfold increase, and the 6 Meridian Divine Sword was strengthened to become the 6 Meridian Supreme Divine Sword. Chen Pai, through Jizi's lecture on the 9 heavenly dragons, comprehended the concept of Do Zhuan Xing Zhuan, and his realm was elevated to the stage of transforming into a divine being. The host gained a tenfold increase, and the Do Zhuan Xing Zhuan was strengthened to Jiu Zhuan, in the starry sky. A series of hundreds of system prompts directly fooled Dixin. Emperor Xian's realm skyrocketed from the earthly realm to the early, middle, and late stages of the heavenly immortals. Jin Xian. Xian rose to the realm of the golden immortal without any obstacles, but this has not stopped yet. Mid-golden immortal and late golden immortal. It was not until the late Jin Xian period that the rapidly growing realm of Emperor Xian stopped. At this moment, Emperor Xian regained his composure and began to organize his thoughts. Xian noticed the key words, as Jizi mentioned. As far as Emperor Xian knew, Wang Shujizi should have already followed Wen Zhong's army to Beihai at this time. The 9 heavenly dragons in his hand must have been obtained from Wen Zhong. Wang Shujizi often tells soldiers to relieve stress during the march, which is not a secret. And almost all the soldiers and officers in the Shang were illiterate, so they could not have read books themselves, but understood them through storytelling. Thinking about this, Xian was instantly excited. Originally, Emperor Xian was still considering that the illiteracy rate of the Shang was almost 95% or higher. It was extremely difficult to promote his novels, but the emergence of GZ instantly solved this problem. As long as there are enough storytellers, the people of the great merchants and soldiers only need to listen. At the same time, Emperor Xian couldn't help but lament that the talent of the human race in this era is simply terrifying. With just 18 dragons subduing palms, their strength can soar to such a level. However, this is also easy to understand. Many people are born with strong qi in blood, divine power, and extraordinary strength. With the blessing of the 18 dragons subduing palms, they know how to operate their internal skills. With the terrifying spiritual energy of the wilderness, even a martial arts secret book is enough for them to cultivate immortality. Enter the path with martial arts. This word appeared in Xian's mind. Another advantage of using martial arts to enter the realm is that the combat power almost overwhelms cultivators in the same realm. And as the realm increases, the combat effectiveness will become stronger. As for why almost everyone understands the 18 dragons subduing palms, only a few people understand martial arts such as the 6 Meridian Divine Sword, which is also easy to understand. The 18 dragons subduing palms are the most rigid and young martial arts, and the personalities of these soldiers best match those of the 18 dragons subduing palms. Although other martial arts are exquisite, they are not suitable for them. Jizi was speaking when suddenly he felt the heat rising in his body, and his previously weak body became stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Subsequently, Jizi felt that his strength and ability began to rapidly soar. The specific realm of Jizi is unclear, but Jizi can feel that he is becoming stronger and stronger. Jizi Shuoshu said that the strength gained through his storytelling was doubled and fed back to Jizi. Jizi broke through to the heavenly immortal realm, and the host gained a tenfold increase. Xian originally thought it was over, but he didn't expect to give himself another fierce blow. With the increase of the basket, Xian's realm had reached the peak of the golden immortal. Jizi's strength had improved and he woke up to find Wen Zhongjing standing beside him with an anxious expression on his face. "Taisher, what happened?" Jizi asked. "What are you guys doing? A group of people have been sitting here for 2 hours without any military discipline." Wen Zhong, who was originally somewhat worried, saw Jizi wake up and his emotions immediately turned into anger. "Report to the Grand Tutor, just now the military master gave us a lecture, which seemed to be an immortal book. We all understood that 18 dragons subduing palms from it, and our strength increased by more than 10 times. Reported by Zhang Sanhui. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Where did the immortal book come from? I think you're just drinking and causing trouble." Drinking in the military is a taboo. If you violate military law and want to evade it, what should you do? Wen Zhong didn't believe a single word of Zhang San's words. Taisher, this is true. I feel particularly strong now. Compared to now, I used to be just a weak chicken. Li Si agreed beside him. Since that's the case, I'll test the strength of both of you. If it's true as you said, I won't hold you accountable, but if you lie, you'll be dealt with by military law. Wen Zhong snorted coldly. Chapter 4 Shocked Wen Zhong, Wen Zhong vomited blood, seeking. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. You three can go up together. Wen Zhong looked at Zhang San, Li Si, Wang Wu in front of him and said proudly. Third brother, fourth brother, the Grand Tutor has a high level of cultivation, which is not something we can match. Let's go together. Wang Wu glanced at the two comrades who had been fighting side by side for many years and said. Upon hearing these words, Zhang San and Li Si also looked serious. The three of them formed a triangle and attacked Wen Zhong. 18 Dragon Subduing Palms. Zhang San let out a loud roar, and countless golden dragons gushed out of his palms, flying towards Wen Zhong. Wen Zhong looked at the golden dragons in front of him, making a sound of dragon chants. He was somewhat surprised. Zhang San, Li Si, and Wang Wu were very familiar to him and had never seen Zhang San know this move before. However, Wen Zhong didn't take it seriously. He had already reached the pinnacle of the golden immortal realm, and his cultivation was extremely terrifying. He didn't even pay attention to these golden dragons. Wen Zhong didn't even bother to show his defensive posture and prepared to forcefully take on these golden dragons. In an instant, countless golden dragons bombarded Wen Zhong. Wen Zhong's face instantly changed. The attack power of these golden dragons is much stronger than he imagined. Even though he was as strong as Wen Zhong, under the bombardment of these golden dragons, he felt his qi and blood disordered, and he couldn't stand steadily. The golden dragons dispersed, and Wen Zhong's armor had been shattered and looked disheveled. Let's go together. Zhang Sanyi saw that his attack had actually worked and gave a glance to the other two people. The three of them played the 18 dragon subduing palms together. The golden dragon, which was originally flying in the air, unexpectedly merged during the flight, forming several incredibly huge golden dragons that flew towards Wen Zhong. Upon hearing this, Wen Zhong dared not neglect it anymore. The immortal energy was fully unleashed, forming a defensive wall around him. The first golden dragon bombarded the defense wall, which was almost half weak. The second golden dragon bombarded the defense wall, which had become almost non-existent. The speed of the golden dragon's bombardment was too fast, so fast that even Wen Zhong had no time to replenish the defense wall with fairy spirit energy. As the third golden dragon hit the top, the defense wall shattered and the remaining few golden dragons mercilessly hit Wen Zhong. Strong as Wen Zhong, he was also bombarded by the golden dragon and flew backwards. When he got up again, Wen Zhong felt a sweet sensation in his throat, and a mouthful of blood was held in his heart, which was suppressed by Wen Zhong. If you vomit blood, it will lose face. The Grand Tutor's strength is profound and unpredictable, and I can't wait much longer. Zhang San and others were filled with admiration when they saw that Wen Zhong had received a joint attack from the three of them unscathed. Yeah, just now the three of us were a bit complacent, but compared to the Grand Tutor, we were far behind. Li Si sighed and said. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong had to restrain his internal injuries. Not bad, the three of you have made great progress. Let's just forget about drinking this time, let's not repeat it. Wen Zhongqiang persevered and said. Grand Tutor, I have also gained some insights. It's a good time to have a sparring. Jizi's heart was already itching and unbearable as she watched the competition between several people. Now, Jizi feels stronger than ever before, and her understanding of the 18 dragon subduing palms has reached its peak. Jeezy's understanding of the 18 dragon subduing palms was completely feedback from these people, so his understanding is deeper than anyone else's and his realm is higher than anyone's. Master, don't joke anymore. You're just a scholar, I'm afraid I'll hurt you. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong looked displeased. There are no jokes in the military. How could I joke with the Grand Tutor like this? The Grand Tutor is ready. Jeezy spoke and appeared in front of Wen Zhong with a gentle step. With so many soldiers, there are still one or two who have understood Lingbo micro step. Feedback to Jeezy, and Jeezy will naturally understand. Other martial arts include the 6 Meridian Divine Sword, Dozhuan Starshift, and more. Jizihui has many martial arts, so combining them is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Moreover, his skill is equal to the sum of all the soldiers present, which adds up to even more terrifying. The instant appearance of GZ made Wen Zhong's pupils shrink, and he didn't even notice how GZ appeared. Is the military commander serious? At this moment, Wen Zhong finally realized that something was wrong and said seriously. Nature is serious, and I hope the Grand Tutor will also take it seriously. GZ nodded and said. Okay. Wen Zhong nodded seriously and said. My move, the 6 Meridian Divine Sword, has extraordinary power. Please be careful, Grand Tutor. After GZ finished speaking, the 6 Meridians came out together, and Sword Chi attacked and killed Wen Zhong one by one. The 6 Sword Chi completely blocked Wen Zhong's retreat from different angles. Feeling the sharpness of the sword energy, Wen Zhong's face changed and he dared not forcefully take it. With the same skill, the 18 dragon subduing palms have a larger impact area, so it's not difficult to connect, but the 6 Meridian Divine Sword is completely different. It's like the same strength, one hitting someone with the palm, and the other stabbing someone with a sharp sword. The killing power is completely incomparable. Wen Zhong's heart moved with a thought, and the twin whips of the male and female dragons appeared in his hands instantly. The male and female whips were Wen Zhong's master, the spiritual treasure bestowed upon him by the Golden Spirit Holy Mother, with terrifying power. Just now I had a sparring with Zhang San and others, and Wen Zhonggen didn't even use his double whip, otherwise he would have completely crushed me. Wen Zhong's overall strength is 7 or 8 times higher than these two whips. Both male and female whips knocked down 6 sword energies one by one. Okay, come again. Wen Zhong felt the double whip in his hand tremble slightly, which was the after effect of resisting the sword energy just now. The Grand Tutor is indeed a Grand Tutor, with an unfathomable strength. Since that's the case, then I won't hold back. After GZ finished speaking, he carefully counted the martial arts he knew and found that the only one with stronger killing power than the 6 Meridian Divine Sword was the 18 dragon subduing palms. After all, GZ's understanding of the 18 dragon subduing palms was given to him by so many people. His 18 dragon subduing palms were much stronger than the combined attack of Zhang San and the 3 of them. Taisher, be careful with the 18 dragon subduing palms. GZ spoke out as a reminder. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong's face was full of caution, and the male and female whips in his hands were eager to try. GZ used his 18 dragon subduing palms, and several golden dragons, which were countless times thicker than the ones Zhang San and others had just hit, flew towards Wen Zhong. Upon seeing these golden dragons, Wen Zhong's face instantly changed. Just now, Zhang San and others suffered a hidden loss with their 18 dragon subduing palms. Now, the power of these golden dragons hit by the G is obviously several times more powerful than the sum of them. If it weren't for the double whip in hand, Wen Zhong would really want to turn his head and run. Wen Zhong felt the double whip in his hand tremble slightly, which stunned him. Double whip, are you afraid? However, upon a moment's thought, Wen Zhong understood that his double whip was crafted from the soul of a dragon. When encountering a golden dragon, he would naturally be afraid, as if it was a suppression of his bloodline. However, at this moment, Wen Zhong couldn't handle so much anymore, because the golden dragon had already arrived at the door, and Wen Zhong raised his whip to greet him. 1, 2, Wen Zhong shot down several golden dragons. When there was still the last golden dragon left, Wen Zhong exhausted his strength and let go of his double whip. The last golden dragon solidly hit Wen Zhong. Puff! Wen Zhong couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of old blood. Chapter 5. Wen Zhong comprehends the transformation of the stars in the morning, and Emperor Xian's body. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Taisher, are you okay? Jizi saw Wen Zhong vomiting blood and felt extremely remorseful. Military strategists don't have to worry, it's just a minor injury, just wait a moment. After Wen Zhong finished using his martial arts skills to heal his injuries, about an hour later, Wen Zhong's injuries had healed to a great extent. Master, what's going on here? Wen Zhong looked at the dustpan with a puzzled expression on his face. When did even the usually weak military commander's strength become so terrifying? Taisher, the books you brought from the Imperial study are all immortal books. I just read one and told it to the soldiers. The soldiers learned various martial arts from it, including the 18 dragon subduing palms and the 6 meridian divine sword. For some reason, if they understood it, they would have mastered it. Jizi said excitedly. Book. Immortal book. Upon hearing the question mark on Zhong Man's face, he quickly remembered the box of books he had carried out from the Imperial study before, and suddenly realized the problem. What do you mean, Your Majesty's books? Wen Zhong is uncertain about the way. That's right, those books seem to contain the ultimate principles of heaven and earth, and are not ordinary things. Jizi nodded and said. At this moment, Wen Zhong remembered that since His Majesty ascended the throne, he had been in the study almost every day, with these books, and suddenly realized. So, didn't I miss out on Your Majesty's important matter? Wen Zhongman blamed himself on his face. Grand Tutor, there is no need to blame yourself. Your Majesty did not object. I believe it is because I have already read these books. I went to Your Majesty's palace to find him before, and there are also books in His Majesty's palace. I don't think it will cause any inconvenience. Ji comforted and said. Upon hearing these words, Wen Zhong breathed a sigh of relief. If I miss out on Your Majesty's important matters, then I am the culprit of the great merchant. Where are those books? Take me to take a look. At this moment, Wen Zhong suddenly realized that these soldiers could all comprehend the 18 dragon subduing palms from these books, and he himself could not help it. The power of the 18 dragon subduing palms still lingers in Wen Zhong's heart. Jizi Wen Yen took Wen Zhong to his carriage and took out the box inside. Wen Zhong eagerly picked up the novels inside and flipped through them. Tian Long Jiubu, The Legend of Jiao Heroes, the second in the world, Feng Yun, Shui Yu Dong Tian, and so on, until he flipped through a book called Xingqian Bian. Wen Zhong's eyes lit up and he felt that the name of this book was extremely domineering and suitable for him. So Wen Zhong Yuan sat down and began to read the Xingqian transformation technique. Jizi naturally won't be idle and started reading other novels, preparing to promote them throughout the army tomorrow. Wen Zhong read for 4 or 5 hours, and as he read, he felt a fever in his body and a clear understanding in his heart. Is this the Xingqian transformation technique? Wen Zhongxin felt something and said with great joy. Later, Wen Zhong continued to read novels while practicing his martial arts. Nebula period, popular period, star nucleus period, under the operation of the Wen Zhong cultivation method, one by one crossed the cycle of travel, constant week, dark week, and black hole period, and arrived at the black hole period. The state stayed for a while, then thought of sprinting towards the origin period. In the end, Wen Zhong's morning shift broke through to the early stage of the origin. My own realm has also broken through from the peak of the Golden Immortal to the middle stage of the Tai Golden Immortal. Although he only improved by 2 small levels, Wen Zhong was well aware that his strength had increased more than 10 times. The reason why I am stuck in this realm is that the book Xingqian Bian is incomplete, as if only a small part was written, and the rest is completely blank. Wen Zhong quickly flipped over to the title page of the book, wanting to see who the author was. After seeing the author's signature, Wen Zhong was stunned. Di Xin. Originally, these books were all written by His Majesty. Your Majesty is truly a genius. I have always misunderstood Your Majesty. On the other hand, Dxin was buried in writing a book when suddenly he felt his realm rapidly skyrocketing again. Wen Zhong comprehended the Star Morning Transformation technique from the Star Morning Transformation, and his realm was elevated to the middle stage of Tai Golden Immortal. The host received a tenfold increase, and the Star Morning Transformation was strengthened to the Hongmeng Star Morning Transformation. The peak of the Golden Immortal, the early stage of the Tai Golden Immortal, the middle stage of the Tai Golden Immortal, the late stage of the Tai Golden Immortal, and the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal. Knowing the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal, the realm of Emperor Xin gradually stabilized and no longer increased. At the same time, Emperor Xin's Hongmeng Xingqian transformation has reached the late stage of the origin, and there is a continuous origin in his body, ready to explode at any time. There are also Hongmeng purple energies surrounding the origin. If other creatures in the wilderness knew about this, they would probably have to scratch their heads. You should know that in the wilderness, the quantity of Hongmeng purple qi was strictly controlled by Hongjun, and obtaining Hongmeng purple qi meant having an opportunity to become a saint. To say what is most precious in the wilderness, it is none other than the Hongmeng purple qi. But now, there are actually several Hongmeng purple qi in Dxin's body, and around the origin, there are new Hongmeng purple qi slowly generating. This delighted Emperor Xin greatly. Military advisor, tomorrow the army will remain stationary. The novels you have read should be promoted throughout the army. Wen Zhong looked at GZ, who was reading a book, and said with a serious expression. GZ nodded upon hearing this and said, I also have this intention. As the saying goes, sharpening a knife does not delay the chopping of firewood. The overall strength of the army has increased, and the marching speed can naturally increase by dozens of times. Staying for 1 or 2 days is not a problem. Chapter 6. The Great Defeat of Commercial Appearance in the Decline of Yin Dynasty, Valuable and Valuable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Di Xin spent the whole night writing books, and now Di Xin has not yet been crowned, so he has not yet gotten married. Previously, both Baigan and Wen Zhong tried their best to make Emperor Xin crown himself as regent, but he was rejected by Emperor Xin because he was not old enough. It is said that Baigan even told Emperor Xin about a marriage, which was the daughter of the Eastern Marquis Jiang Chuhuan. Di Xin said that this is the legendary Empress Jiang. For this matter, Di Xin did not refuse because he knew that Empress Jiang was a famous beauty. Gentle and virtuous. Nowadays, Dxin has found that with the improvement of his realm, he can write more novels. Originally only able to write 1/3 of the ethereal journey, he can now write more than half. Pan Long, who had originally written a small part but couldn't continue, can now write more than half of it. So, Di Xin stayed up until the early morning. Your Majesty, it's time to go to court. Outside Emperor Xin's sleeping palace, the temple reminded him. Dxin finally regained his senses, sorted out several books including Pan Long, and took them to court. As soon as Emperor Xin arrived at the main hall, he saw the seat on the lower right side of the dragon seat, where Baigan Laozhen was sitting. After the emperor and his ministers finished their salute, Emperor Xin looked at Baigan and said, Uncle Wang, are you feeling better? Baigan also had a thick-skinned conscience that had not been exposed at all. Your Majesty, there are still some discomforts. I can only listen and cannot preside over the court. Baigan is doing this because he is afraid that the king will not ignore the court because he is present. Upon hearing these words, Dxin smiled. Emperor Xin naturally understood the intention of Baigan. Both Baigan and Wen Zhong were loyal officials of the great merchants, and the most rare thing was that they had no attachment to power, and even wished to take power as soon as possible. Compared to having a delicate mind, handling government affairs is as simple as eating and drinking water. If there is something to attend to, report it; if there is nothing to attend to, leave the court. Under the signal of Emperor Xin, the monk shouted loudly. Your Majesty, I have something to report. Rong quickly stepped out of the queue. What's the matter with the Prime Minister? Xin probably knew that Rong was going to talk about the novel, so he asked knowingly. Your Majesty, the immortal book that Your Majesty gave me yesterday has been read by me and I have gained an understanding of the martial arts God of War illustrated record. Now I feel that I can completely fight against King Wucheng. Rong said excitedly. Shang Xiang, did you drink before going to court? Why are you full of nonsense? Baigon carefully scrutinized the commercial appearance and said. Xin had a lively expression and did not interrupt. The civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty also looked at the Prime Minister with a bewildered expression, thinking to themselves what had happened to him and talking nonsense. As soon as Rong looked at the people around him, he suddenly understood that if he didn't speak clearly, he might be mistaken for a fool. Yin is defeated, let's have a sparring. Yin Pubai was a famous general of the great merchants and also from a royal family background. Although his military strength was not comparable to that of King Wucheng Huang Feihu and Grand Tutor Wen Zhong, he also had few opponents in the court songs. In today's Chowga, only Yin Pu defeated one defending general, while the others went on a campaign. Prime Minister, this is not appropriate. If the last general harms the Prime Minister, it would be a crime worthy of death. Yin Pu looked puzzled. Upon hearing these words, Rong had no reservations and directly released his true energy. His fierce true energy made the surrounding civil and military officials retreat one after another. Only Yin Dafu remained standing in the same place, looking at Rong with a serious expression on his face. Since that's the case, Prime Minister, let's move outside the hall and we can't open it here. Yin Pu respectfully said. Upon hearing these words, Rong nodded and walked out of the hall with Yin Pu. Civil and military officials, as well as Baigans, all extended their heads to look outside the hall. If you want to see it, go out and see it. Xin waved his hand and said. The civil and military officials, as if granted amnesty, came to the outside of the palace to prepare to watch this competition. Even the competition was followed out. In theory, the level of the God of War record is much higher than that of the 18 dragons subduing palms, but Rong's martial arts talent is really mediocre, so his realm has only reached the stage of transforming into a god. However, dealing with Yin's defeat is more than enough. The two of them stood in the square outside the palace, bowing to each other. Even Yin Pu did not intentionally go outside the palace to retrieve weapons, because he felt that even if Rong was a literati, no matter how powerful he was. Be careful. After being reminded by Rong, he slapped it with one palm, which was the first move in the War God illustrated record. The destroying luck palm was extremely powerful. At first, Yin Dabai didn't pay much attention, but when the destiny palm approached, he felt the terrifying power contained within it, his face changed suddenly, and he quickly dodged, avoiding the crucial area. However, he was still slapped on the shoulder by Rong. Puff. Yin Pu Fei immediately flew backwards and spat out a mouthful of blood. Upon seeing this situation, Rong quickly stepped forward and helped Yin Pu up, looking guilty. I have never fought with anyone before, lack experience, and can't control my strength well. Yin Defei listened to this extremely insulting sentence and once again spewed out old blood, fainting. Xin appeared next to the two at an unknown time. Your Majesty, what should we do? Rong looked at Xin in confusion and said. Leave it to me. Xin spoke and breathed a fairy aura through the air into Yin Pu's body. Yin Pu had originally seen some serious injuries, but he recovered at a visible speed. Prime Minister, are you telling the truth? Bai Gan looked at Shang Rong with an incredulous expression on his face and asked. Of course it's true. Your Majesty gave me a book yesterday, and everyone else saw it. It was an immortal book. I only read it for a while, and then I understood the War God illustrated record, which gave me this skill. Shang Rong said with pride on his face. Upon hearing these words, Bai Gan's face was filled with excitement. Your Majesty, do you still have these books? I suggest promoting them throughout the army. In this way, our great merchant can conquer the 4 seas and unify the world. Speaking of unifying the world, Bai Gan was extremely excited in his heart. Although the 4 major vassal states and various vassals, big and small, all belong to the great Shang, in other words, they are still fighting on their own. These vassal states are only subordinate states, and their land does not truly belong to the great Shang. If we could unify the world, it would be a great achievement for thousands of years, unmatched by anyone. There's still a lot, don't worry, Prime Minister. Can you explain the content of the book you read yesterday to the officials? Xin wants to see if Shang Rong can be like a dustpan, telling stories to others and then improving his strength. Yes, Your Majesty. After Shang Rong saluted, just as he was about to speak, he found himself unable to say anything about the Tang Dynasty's twin dragons. Your Majesty, I cannot do it. Shang Rong said with a dejected expression on his face. As expected. Xin had anticipated this situation early on. However, in this way, it's also good. If anyone could say that in the future, there will be no one among the civil and military officials to handle the court's affairs, and they may all go out to preach. In this way, Dixi needs to select talents who can speak on his own. Chapter 7. Shocked Canine Tribe, this is definitely not. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Babu is the leader of the Canine Tribe and also a descendant of Qiyu, with astonishing talent from birth. The entire Canine Tribe is a descendant of the Jiuli tribe back then, who were determined to seek revenge and fight back along the Yellow River. However, due to Sanqing preaching in the human race, various experts constantly emerged, resulting in severe losses for the Canine tribe during the war with the human race. So in recent years, the Canine tribe has been recuperating and preparing to find a suitable time to make a comeback. And Babu's birth gave hope to the entire Canyon tribe. Babu is the most promising genius in the clan leader and even the entire Canyon tribe for nearly 1,000 years. The sacrificial offerings of the Canine tribe tested the bloodline of Babu, and even the bloodline of the distant ancestor Dou was detected within Babu's bloodline, although this trace of bloodline was very thin. You should know that their ancestor Qiyu was reincarnated from the ancient witch, so the entire Jiuli tribe never considered themselves human and took pride in their ancestor, the witch tribe. As descendants of the Jiuli tribe, the Canine tribe naturally identifies themselves as descendants of the Wu tribe. As Babu reached adulthood, his strength also reached its peak, reaching the peak of the Golden Immortal. Moreover, his pure physical strength was much stronger than that of human cultivators in the same realm. Even more rare, a while ago, Babu sensed a drop of the Great Witch's essence scattered in the wilderness. After leading his tribe to find this drop of essence, he fused half of it himself, and his strength rapidly improved, reaching the early stage of Tai Golden Immortal. The remaining half was diluted and distributed to the tribe members. So now every person in the Canine tribe has extraordinary combat power. So Babu planned this rebellion and began attacking the city walls of Dashang. The enhanced members of the Canine tribe are exceptionally brave, and the soldiers of the Great Shang are not their all-in-point-one enemies. They can only huddle inside the city wall, activate their formation, and struggle to support themselves. Fortunately, they managed to hold on to the arrival of reinforcements, which were faster than they had imagined, and it was still led by Grand Tutor Wen Zhong himself. This made the soldiers suddenly relax. As one of the pillars of the great merchants, Taisha Wen Zhong has been invincible and has never suffered a defeat. Wen Zhong, I didn't expect you to come personally. It's okay. 20 years ago, you killed my father, and now I want to avenge him with my own hands. At this moment, Babu was proud and didn't even pay attention to Wen Zhong. As an enemy of Wen Zhong, Babu has a good understanding of his strength. At best, Wen Zhong is at the pinnacle of the golden immortal realm, with the most powerful being the double whip in his hand. With the blessing of a pair of double whips, Wen Zhong's strength can be further enhanced. But now Babu is different from the past. Babu, who already has a trace of the Great Witch bloodline, has fused half a drop of the Great Witch essence blood, and his Great Witch bloodline has awakened. Babu, who possesses the bloodline of the Great Witch, can be immune to the vast majority of spell attacks, and the double whip in Wen Zhong's hand can cause minimal damage to him. Babu, 20 years ago I killed your father and let you go, but I didn't expect to end up releasing a tiger and returning to the mountains. Since that's the case, this time I'll take care of you once and for all. Wen Zhong rode the ink Qilin with a domineering expression on his face. Wen Zhong, this time is different from the past. I am no longer the same person as I was 20 years ago, and my people are not as strong as they were 20 years ago. With just you local chickens, tiles, and dogs. How about we warm up first, send one person each, and have a competition? You will soon realize the gap between us. Babu said proudly. You go and teach them a good lesson. Babu randomly assigned a tribe member, who has been enhanced and currently has strength equivalent to the level of the human tribe's Yuanying realm. This person was ordered to go to battle and came to the front of the army of the great Shang dynasty. You go ahead. Wen Zhong, like Babu, randomly assigned a soldier and said. The soldiers were ordered to go to battle. Wen Zhong, you really don't know what it means. Every member of my tribe is an unparalleled warrior. Sending a soldier out like this is completely a joke about your soldiers' lives. Babu looked at Wen Zhongdao with a mocking expression on his face. Every soldier of mine is incredibly brave, isn't it comparable to those of your tribe? I think it's your tribe who wants to kill you. Wen Zhong has never been afraid of anyone, let alone the ignorant and civilized Rong tribe. Sure enough, Babu choked on a sentence from Wen Zhong and didn't know how to answer. Humph, don't shed tears until you see the coffin. After Babu finished speaking, he stopped speaking and looked towards the front lines of the two armies, where his own tribe and the small soldiers of the great merchant were facing off. Quickly, the soldiers of the Rong tribe couldn't help but wield spears and kill the enemy. The human soldier didn't need to dodge. Just when Babu thought he was going to be stabbed by his own tribe, he suddenly found that the human soldier was covered in golden light. Long hair pierced his body, and a piercing metallic roar echoed, leaving the human soldiers unharmed. This is impossible. Babu's face is full of no channels. Not just Babu, all the members of the Rong tribe looked at everything in front of them with a ghostly expression. When did the soldiers of the human race become so strong? However, the development of the matter is destined to exceed their expectations. I saw the human soldiers pushing out their palms, and several golden dragons flew towards the Rong people. It's exactly the 18 dragon subduing palms. The Rong people may be immune to some spell damage, but they have no immunity to pure physical damage like the 18 dragon subduing palms. Several golden dragons hit the Rong person, directly piercing several large holes in the Rong person's body, and the Rong person fell to the ground in response. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Babu roared loudly. He couldn't believe what was happening before him. Even if the soldiers of this human race are disguised as officers, it is impossible to kill their own people with just one blow. However, ironclad facts are before our eyes. Wen Zhong, you're deceiving me. This soldier is definitely a senior general of your business. Babu looked at Wen Zhong with red eyes and said. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. Otherwise, this time we'll choose each other's people and have another competition. Wen Zhong joked. Chapter 8. The terrifying army of the great Shang dynasty, pushing ahead. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Just him. Babu directly selected the flag bearer. Wen Zhong randomly selected a dog soldier, and the two of them stood out directly to confront each other. Unlike the previous game, the Inu Rong people who appeared this time were obviously much more cautious, looking cautiously at the flag bearer in front of them. The flag bearer has comprehended 3 techniques in total, namely the 6 Meridian Divine Sword, the 18 Dragon Subduing Palms, and the Wuqiu Yi Ju in Fengshen novels. The Wuqiu Yi Ju is an extremely advanced internal mental skill. In the midst of the wind and clouds, Bu Jingyun stood alone in the world with the help of the no-seeking easy technique. At that time, Xianin Sword Chen, who had comprehended the 12 swords of Xianin, was able to fight on par with Wu Wudi. In the end, Wu Wudi died of Yin. Who is Wu Wudi? That's the existence of Emperor Shi who dares not go out. Nevertheless, after killing Wu Wudi, Xianin Sword Chen expanded unprecedentedly and challenged Bu Jingyun. At that time, Bu Jingyun had already learned the Wuqiu Yi Ju and used it to motivate the Hua family's swordsmanship, easily defeating Sword Chen. You should know that the Hua family's swordsmanship is only the most basic swordsmanship. This shows the terrifying aspect of not seeking easy formulas. The state of flag bearer has already reached the Mahayana period. As for Zhang San and others, after this period of listening, they have all reached the realm of Earth Immortals, and the strongest Wang Wu has even reached the peak of Earth Immortals. Jizi's strength is the most terrifying, having crossed 2 major realms from the heavenly immortal realm and reached the early stage of the Tai Golden Immortal. This is still because the level of these novels is too low, and those with higher levels have only written a part. Otherwise, the realm of the dustpan can be even higher. Finally, the Inu Rong man couldn't help but wave his spear and kill the flag bearer. The flag bearer knows his advantage, which is long-range strike, so before the Inu Rong person can get close, the 6 Meridian Divine Sword will shoot directly. The difference in realm and strength between the two sides is really huge. The 6 Meridian Divine Sword cut off the spear in the hand of the Inu Rong person, without reducing its power, and directly pierced through the Inu Rong person's head. Impossible. Babu's teeth were showing signs of cracking. How could he not accept the reality in front of him? When did the soldiers of Shang become so terrifying? The people behind Babu were also deeply affected. Originally, they were proud and thought that the human race of Shang was vulnerable. However, Wen Zhong gave them a good lesson with practical experience, making them understand that they were the ones who were vulnerable, not the soldiers. Alright, the competition is over. I believe you have given up. Since that's the case, let me take you on your journey. Wen Zhong patted Mo Qilin and approached the Canine Tribe. Huh, old master Wen Zhong, who do you think you are? You dare to fight alone. Today, I will make sure you never come back. Although the tribe lost, Babu was extremely confident in his own strength. In the early days of Tai Golden Immortal, Babu was confident that his strength was far beyond that of Wen Zhong, the peak of the Golden Immortal. I don't know. Wen Zhongling snorted and the 2 whips in his hand merged into one, turning into a sword. 6 annihilations without me sword 20.3. Wen Zhong let out a loud roar, and the surrounding space seemed to be frozen. Babu could no longer move. The 6 extinctions without self sword 23 is a move that Wen Zhong comprehends from the wind and clouds. Its power is astonishing. Wen Zhong is in the Tai Golden Immortal realm, and it is incredibly easy to use, unlike the Sword Saint in novels who struggles to use it. Although Babu's body couldn't move, his consciousness was still clear. When he realized he couldn't move, he was immediately shocked and pale. Seeing the sword in Wen Zhong's hand approaching his body, Babu had to burn his own essence and unleash astonishing power, leaving cracks in the already fixed space around him, restoring a certain level of mobility, and avoiding critical areas. However, Babu's arm was still chopped off by Wen Zhong. When did your strength become so strong? Babu looked at Wen Zhong with lingering fear and asked. At this moment, Sword 23 is released, and the surrounding space is instantly restored. Kill. With a wave of the sword in Wen Zhong's hand, the person behind him immediately charged towards the Canine Tribe. In fact, Wen Zhong could have solved this war alone, but he was also aware that these soldiers had just increased their strength and needed a big battle to vent their anger. You can't just focus on your own pleasure. This is Wen Zhong's true thoughts at this moment. Babu watched as the army of Dasheng rushed towards him, but there was nothing he could do because he was being watched to death by Wen Zhong. Any slight movement would bring him back. The army of Shang was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, and like hungry bachelors who saw beautiful women, they rushed forward regardless of everything. Some soldiers who have comprehended the dragon-elephant Prajnaparamita technique are even more outrageous, directly grabbing the Rong people and tearing them apart with all their brute force. You should know that the Rong people consider themselves as descendants of the witch tribe, and their physical strength lies entirely in their bodies, which are incredibly strong. But in the hands of these soldiers, they are fragile like a piece of paper. Upon seeing this scene, Babu wished he could rush forward and kill these soldiers to avenge his own people. But he couldn't get rid of Wen Zhong completely. Either kill me or let me go. Babu roared angrily. That's as you wish. After Wen Zhong finished speaking, a black hole was released from his body. The gravity of the black hole was extremely strong, and Babu was horrified to find that he could not escape the terrifying suction of the black ball in front of him. Even if Babu tried to resist, he could only be sucked in bit by bit. When Babu approached a certain position, he was instantly sucked in by the black hole and disappeared. Wen Zhong was very clear that Babu had already dissipated. The battle came quickly and ended quickly. Wen Zhong led a 50,000-strong army on this expedition. And the Canine tribe has a total of less than 5,000 people. Only an average of 10 soldiers can be assigned to one canine soldier, and the battle is like destroying everything. Wherever the soldiers of Shang pass, there is no grass growing. These soldiers have used everything they can, such as the 18 dragon subduing palms, 3 points returning to Ginshi, dragon divine skill, and so on. When Wen Zhongming and Jin withdrew their troops, the mountains behind the battlefield were all plowed flat. The guards on the city wall were stunned. He didn't understand when the soldiers of Shang had become so terrifying. P.S. I am looking for flower collection and evaluation tickets. The flowers and evaluation tickets will be reset every day. If I don't vote, they will be invalidated the next day. Is the support of all the big shots my biggest motivation? Chapter 9. Huang Feihu, who is like a formidable enemy, you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Among the civil and military officials, after screening, only Bai Gan can become a storyteller. After learning this news, Bai Gan was also overjoyed and walked towards the military camp with the novel given to him by the king. After continuous efforts day and night, Dixin's strength and realm soared rapidly. The Luo. Xian opened his eyes and exclaimed in surprise. As the saying goes, once you enter the Dalai Lama, you will be eternal. Only the Dalai Lama who proves the Tao can be considered a strong one in the wilderness. It is reasonable to say that there are ants under the Luo. Time flies by quickly, and in the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. King Wu Cheng, Huang Feihu, returned to Chaoga and arrived at the entrance of Chaoga city, only to find that the entire Chaoga was shrouded in a large formation. Huang Feihu's face was full of nervousness like this. Did Chaoga encounter any danger? Thinking of this, Huang Feihu rode a 5-colored divine ox to the city gate. I have seen King Wu Cheng. The gatekeeper salutes. What kind of person are you? Huang Feihu could tell at a glance that this defender was extraordinary. He had a reserved aura and his overall strength was not something that a small defender could possess. Report to King Wu Cheng, I was promoted by you as a young Zhou Ji. Don't you remember me? Zhou Ji felt a bit sad. Of course I know Zhou Ji, but you are not Zhou Ji. Zhou Ji's aura is not as strong as yours. What exactly happened to Chowga? Who are you? Huang Feihu angrily shouted. At this point, Huang Feihu believed that Chowga had already had an accident. Once a person identifies something, 10 cows cannot be pulled back. The little one is indeed Zhou Ji. As for his strength, King Wucheng may not know yet. During your time away, Your Majesty has written many immortal books, and Lord Baigan has told us stories. We have learned a lot of martial arts from them. Zhou Ji explained. A bunch of nonsense, do you treat me like a 3-year-old child? You can understand martial arts by talking. It's like a slippery world. Come on, who are you? Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. After listening to Zhou Ji's explanation, Huang Feihu was even more determined to believe that Chowga had an accident, otherwise the person in front of him would not have used such a terrible reason to deceive him. Sir, I am truly Zhou Ji, without any empty words. Zhou Ji explained anxiously. It seems that you don't shed tears until you see the coffin, just look at the gun. Huang Feihu decided not to talk nonsense to him anymore and shot Zhou Ji with Jin Zaidalu in his hand. Zhou Ji's face was full of helplessness, and the person in front of him was King Wucheng. He, who had been promoted by himself, could not fight back no matter what. Thinking of this, Zhou Ji directly activated the diamond without exchanging divine skill, and his whole body turned golden. Huang Feihu's spear pierced Zhou Ji's body, producing a piercing metallic roar, and Zhou Ji was unharmed. Huang Feihu's face was full of fear and he said, "Who the hell are you?" Zhou Ji couldn't have such strong strength. Sir, I am really a weakly. Zhou Ji is almost crying. Since that's the case, there's nothing more to say. Look at the gun. Huang Feihu once again shot and killed Zhou Ji. After listening to books for these days, especially the novel Pan Long, Zhou Ji's strength has reached the mid-stage of the Golden Immortal period, making him one of the outstanding generals. And Huang Feihu is just the strength of the Heavenly Immortal in the later stage, even if he pokes his gun and smokes, he cannot break Zhou Ji's golden body. Zhou Ji had no choice but to sit on the ground and let Huang Feihu do whatever he wanted. Zhou Ji's move did not cause much harm, but was extremely insulting. Huang Feihu thought that the person in front of him looked down on him and worked even harder. In this way, Huang Feihu attacked with all his might for half a day, and his stamina was finally exhausted, leaving him with no more strength to attack. Sir, please rest for a while. Zhou Ji kindly reminded me. However, these words fell into Huang Feihu's ears and became a mockery of red fruit. Don't be reckless. Even if I, Huang Feihu, died here today, I won't let you succeed. At this moment, Huang Feihu's thoughts became even more firm in his heart. A gatekeeper with such strong strength, it seems that Chowga is going to have a big deal. As the Wucheng king of the great merchant, he naturally wants to coexist with Chowga. At this point, Zhou Ji was too lazy to explain, and he finally understood. No matter how he explained it, King Wucheng would not believe it. You go to the palace to report. Zhou Ji finally gave up the idea of explanation and let the hands on the city wall go down to the palace to report. The current situation is no longer something that Zhou Ji can solve. The soldier took orders and hurriedly ran towards the palace. You may call me someone, but if Huang Feihu frowns, I am not the Wucheng king of the great merchant. Huang Feihu speaks with righteousness and righteousness. He did not have the idea of letting the army behind him keep up. Judging solely from the strength of the city gate guard, even if the army came, it would only be cannon fodder and of no use. Instead, it's better to leave some hope for big business. At least that's what Huang Feihu thinks. Quickly, Shang Rong, who received the news, rushed over. Wucheng Wang, what are you doing? Shang Rong looked at Huang Feihu with a puzzled expression and asked. Huang Feihu looked at Shang Rong from far to near and almost instantly appeared in front of him, thinking that the person in front of him could not be Shang Rong. You should know that Shang Ronggui, as the Prime Minister, is a scholar and cannot have such strength. What kind of people are you? Huang Feihu asked after him. Who else can it be? I'm Shang Rong. The business atmosphere is somewhat affected. You're lying to the ghost. Who doesn't know the whole Chaoga? Shang Xiang is a scholar, how could he have your strength? With the strength you just demonstrated, it's impossible for him to be Shang Xiang. Who are you and how is your Majesty doing? Huang Feihu was extremely worried about the safety of the king at this moment and quickly asked. Upon hearing these words, Shang Rong immediately understood why Huang Feihu looked like this. If you were to return from your own expedition and see Chaoga surrounded by the formation, and the soldiers guarding the gate all have extraordinary strength, you would probably suspect that Chaoga has had an accident. King Wucheng, I am Shang Rong. As for the matter of Chaoga, I will explain it to you slowly later, and I can prove that I am Shang Rong. Shang Rong is truly a prime minister, with clear thinking and not as sharp as Zhou Ji. How do you prove it? Huang Feihu looked skeptical. You have a red birthmark on your buttocks. I saw it when you were young when I hugged you. A sentence from Shang Rong made Huang Feihu's face instantly turn red. Chapter 10. Shocked Huang Feihu, all people becoming immortals. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Besides, with your strength, why should we deceive you? Now that you can't even beat us in practice, if we really have a problem, wouldn't it be easier to just kill you? Although Shang Rong's words may pierce the heart, they are logical in every sentence. Huang Feihu finally believed Shang Rong's words. Prime Minister, what exactly happened? Why is the entire Chaoga shrouded in formations, and what about Zhou Ji and your strength? Huang Feihu said with a puzzled expression on his face. This grand formation was established by His Majesty to prevent the secrets of Chaoga from leaking out and causing those powerful spies. As for the strength of me and Zhou Ji, although Zhou Ji's words may seem unbelievable, they are all true. Shang Rong explained. Zhou Ji's words. Is it really because of your Majesty's novel? Huang Feihu's face is full of no channels. That's right. On the first day of His Majesty's reign, I sought His Majesty's advice on governing the country and governing the people. His Majesty gave me a book, saying that I should understand it myself. The name of this book is Twin Dragons of the Great Tang Dynasty. Shang Rong immediately explained the whole story to Huang Feihu, including the magical power of shrinking the ground that he had comprehended from another fairy tale novel these days, without reservation. When he heard that Zhou Ji was already in the Golden Immortal Realm, Wang Shubigan was already at the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal Realm, and His Majesty had already broken through to the Daoyuo Realm many days ago, triggering anomalies in heaven and earth. When the current realm was unfathomable, Huang Feihu had some doubts about life. After all, Huang Feihu has been practicing hard for over 20 years and has only reached the realm of Heavenly Immortal. There is still a considerable gap between him and the Golden Immortal. But now in the entire Chaoga city, the lowest realm is probably the realm of Earthly Immortals, and the Heavenly Immortals are everywhere. There are also many Golden Immortals like Zhou Ji. Among them, those with outstanding talents have already reached the early stage of Tai Golden Immortal. In today's Chaoga city, besides Bygone, there are 10 Tai Golden Immortals, each with extraordinary strength. Prime Minister, what is your current state of mind? Huang Feihu asked with a slightly trembling tone. When Huang Feihu asked this question, Shang Rong felt very embarrassed and said, I feel ashamed to say that your Majesty has also focused on cultivating me. I can easily read those novels, but after all, I am a literati and my cultivation talent is really poor. So far, I have only reached the peak of the Golden Immortal. Upon hearing this, Huang Feihu almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Don't bring such a blow. The Prime Minister Shang Rong, who was originally a weak and scholarly scholar, has now surpassed him by a great margin. Moreover, according to the description of the Prime Minister, the practical combat abilities gained through these novels are much higher than those of others in the same realm, and even the challenges beyond the level are very easy. His Majesty has also provided an explanation for this point. At present, the cultivation path of the Honghuang creatures has all taken the left path, which is deliberately done by some people. As for who it is, Emperor Xin has not said. The one from Zixiao Palace is not something that Emperor Xin can mention now, and will be sensed by him. Most of the primitive creatures nowadays have cultivation above their own spiritual treasures. Without spiritual treasures, their combat power is non-existent. This has led to the later God-sealing war, which was actually a competition of their own spiritual treasures and formations. As long as the Lingbao is strong enough, even if its realm is lower, it can easily defeat those high-level powerhouses. So Kong Xian's five-colored divine light appeared so inexplicable. The five-colored divine light brushed everything, and once he brushed off the spiritual treasure, it was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. However, the martial arts rules understood from these novels are different. The understanding of martial arts is one's own, and it strengthens one's own strength and combat effectiveness. Therefore, in terms of the same realm, these martial arts are invincible. Huang Feihu realized that he was just an ordinary person in Chaoga, even inferior to many ordinary people, and suddenly felt a deep sense of defeat. Why do you have this expression? Just go to your Majesty's place to ask for a few novels. With your talent, at least you will be a Tai Golden Immortal. Shang Rong saw Huang Feihu's expression and comforted him. Upon hearing these words, Huang Feihu's eyes were immediately filled with vitality. Yes, others can understand, but can't we? With our own talent, we can only be stronger than them. As soon as Huang Feihu thought of this, he had no intention of chatting here anymore. He ordered the army to enter the city, and then went to the palace with Shang Rong to seek advice. When Huang Feihu and Shang Rong arrived, Emperor Xin was writing a book. Books such as The Tomb of the Gods, The Nine Dragons' Coffin, The Empress, and The Beiluo Purple Cloud had all been written by Emperor Xin. In addition, Dixin also completed novels such as Panlong and Piaomiao Journey, which were previously only partially written. The books of Piaomiao and others were taken away by Wen Zhong, and Emperor Xin decided to start writing from scratch. Now Emperor Xin's realm has reached the peak of the great Luo Golden Immortal, and the speed of writing books is countless times faster than in the past. Your Majesty, the Prime Minister and King Wu Qing are seeking an audience. The monk came in and said, "Let them in." Xin put away his brush and dried the page he had just written with magic. Your Majesty, Huang Feihu is fortunate enough to live up to his fate and has quelled the rebellion. He has come to report to your Majesty. After Huang Feihu arrived at the imperial study, he quickly saluted. Only Huang Feihu's gaze betrayed him. At this moment, Huang Feihu looked at the book in Xin's hand, his eyes shining. Do you want it? Xin picked up the book and looked at Huang Feihu with a hint of mockery, asking. I want to. Huang Feihu nodded honestly. Take it. Xin casually threw the book in his hand to Huang Feihu. Huang Feihu cautiously took it over and glanced at the book title. The Tomb of God. Suddenly, a desolate and ancient aura rushed towards me. Thank you very much for your reward, Your Majesty. There are still many books here. Choose which one you like and remember to return it after reading. Others still need to read it. Xin stretched lazily, indifferent. Upon hearing these words, Huang Feihu was immediately overjoyed and said, Thank you very much, Your Majesty. After Huang Feihu finished speaking, he couldn't control his eyes anymore and began searching for book titles that suited his taste on the bookshelf. From Shangrong's perspective, Huang Feihu knows that not all novels can reveal the essence of martial arts. The attributes of martial arts must match one's personality in order to have a high chance of understanding them. For example, many blacksmiths, jewelry craftsmen, tailors, and others in Chaoga have learned the art of refining artifacts from cultivation novels, and now the best of them can even create immortal artifacts. For example, many physicians have learned the art of alchemy from it, and now in the Chaoga market, there are many elixirs for sale. Even worse, there was a horse farmer who had comprehended the art of horse cultivation and entered the realm of horse cultivation. As his realm improved, the horses he raised all became divine horses.